Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Hey, how's it going, folks? Welcome to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and hopefully your quarantine life is going okay so far. I know that mine is going pretty alright. I know people might get some cabin fever, but I'm already there. I already got it a long time ago. But I gotta say that for this week, I was actually quite surprised that we have gotten so many major animation news this week. Like, it was honestly pretty tough to select what would be the 5 big stories to go and talk about. So much so that, believe it or not, once again, I'm not going to be doing this alone. Yes, I actually do have a special guest star, and he might be a familiar name for you. Because not only does he have his YouTube channel, where he does talk a lot about animation and movies, but he has also appeared on a few other channels as well that you're probably really familiar with. Oh, and also on a side note, I just want to say thank you so much, Yummy199, for that subscription. I'm really thankful of you. But with this person, you might recall that he is a prominent member of the Pizza Party podcast, on top of being a big helper on Saber Sparks' channel. So he's definitely one of the big helpers of cartoon reviewers. So please welcome, folks, to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, Jim Gisriel. Jim, what is up, dude?
Hey, how's it going? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Have things been going pretty well for you this week? Have you been doing all right?
Yes, I've been doing okay. I'm okay. Doing well.
All right, that's good. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me on, by the way.
No problem. I'm sure we can really make something magical out of this. So, with that said, now, Jim, are you ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast?
I very much am, yes.
All right, Chatwall, are you all ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it. Are you all set for this? Let me see. Yep. All right, it looks like we got people. All right, yes, that is perfect. That is what I like to hear. That's great to know. So with that said, let's go ahead and get this one started. And with our first story that we have over here, and this is something that I will promise you right now, this is going to be the only coronavirus-related story that we will be talking about. I know that in the past weeks, I discuss a lot of the stories that are related to it, but for this one, this shall be the only one we shall get into, I promise. And what I will be discussing will be related to Scoob and a few other movies from Warner Brothers, because this week, Warner Brothers has officially revealed that they are going to be delaying both the upcoming animated film Scoob and the highly anticipated movie based on the Lin-Manuel Miranda musical In the Heist. Scoob was supposed to be released in the middle of May, while In the Heist was supposed to be coming out actually pretty late, like at the end of June, but apparently now they are completely taking them out off of their schedule. At the same time, though, there is another movie that did get delayed, which is Wonder Woman 1984, but unlike the other movies like Scoob and In the Heist, this one actually does have a new release date. While we don't know when the other movies are going to be coming out now, Wonder Woman 1984 is now going to move from June 5th to August 14th. So it's just slightly delayed, but now we know that that film actually does have a release date. And so far, those are the only ones that we know for now that are the new additions of all the movies that are getting delayed. So it's pretty surprising to see that there have been more movies, and now like movies from like much later, like we're entering in May, where those movies are pretty much running away from the coronavirus. What do you think?
Well, it's not only that. Some movies that are in production are getting delayed. I read a piece last night. It was the Batman's getting delayed. I forget all the other ones. The only one that's actually on target is Doctor Strange 2, to my understanding, from what I read. But as for these getting delayed, it could go further because China opened up their theaters and then closed them, I think 2 days after,
Oh,
which is,
really?
I'm sure that's not what anyone wants to hear right now. But, but they really did close them up right away, pretty much. So this could get worse. I'm sorry to tell everyone that. But at the same time, Scoob needed to move because it was coming out a week next to SpongeBob. And that was a terrible release date. And I'm actually, if anybody got moved and it worked out for them, it's Scoob, because one of those was not going to work out. It was going to be like a Don Bluth Disney situation again, from back in, you remember back in the 80s with Land Before Time and Oliver. And I think they did it one more time. And I hated that release date the entire time. So it's going to work out for Scoob and SpongeBob as long as they stay away from each other. But
Even
the,
Even Scoob and SpongeBob are practicing social distancing.
yes, you're right. You're right. They should. I think they would be friends though, but
yeah.
they should. But Wonder Woman, it seems like from what I've read, because there's been all these rumors from like kind of less sites that don't like to be as substantiated, that it would just go to VOD, and Warner's is very much like, no, Wonder Woman's coming out in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
That is happening. I think Wonder Woman will. As for where these other things go, the release calendar is going to get very busy because you have all the stuff that was going to come out at the latter part of the year. So do they delay this a whole other year? Do they delay this? Do they sell this off to Netflix, which happened to Lovebirds, which is a possibility? I think in the Heights, it's more of a possibility because Netflix could cover that cost. But we'll see. It could.
Well, no.
Right now.
Like, I'm not saying that they could do that move, but considering that it is from Warner Brothers, I feel like they could wait a bit and put it on HBO Max.
That's a good point. I'm actually also surprised they haven't just gone ahead and gone live with HBO Max at this point, because everyone's home, despite the massive unemployment. I think if you said, hey, you could have a 30-day free trial of something, and Quibi, I think premieres next week, if I'm not wrong, is going to clean up because people are bored. They need something. A lot of people have nothing to do. And Quibi, if I'm probably going to sign up for Quibi also because there's no movie releases. So it's something to talk about. So I think HBO Max and Peacock could really use that. And then they could use some of these movies that, when it gets too crowded, they're going to have to find some home for, and you can't delay them forever and ever. So, but it's going to be interesting how they sort this all out, because I don't think they even know at this point. They're sort of just guessing right now, as we all are.
Yeah, that is true. And one thing that I would say, that I know some people might be shocked of the fact that we are still seeing movies that are just being delayed and stuff like that, but I do feel and I see that a big part of it is because Hollywood studios are still under the power of movie theaters. Like, I can imagine there are going to be some people that will go and ask, oh, why didn't Scoob or In the Heist do something like, they would do like Trolls World Tour? Well, that's because, like, even though a lot of movie theaters, most if not all movie theaters are closed down, the thing is that they are highly discouraging studios to go and do that. Like, they're already pissed off at Universal for the move that they have done with Trolls World Tour. They want to make sure no other movie gets to do that, and they would rather if the studios would just keep on continuously delaying their movies. One thing I wanted to say actually was regarding what you mentioned before about what's happening in China, is that I did hear that they were slowly reopening they were reopening theaters, but I'm surprised to hear that they actually just shut it down just a few days later.
Yeah, I was surprised by that as well. But even though they're containing it, I'm not 100% up to date on what's going on with Corona there, but it seems like they just felt it wasn't safe to do it that early, unfortunately. Even though they released like 4K versions of the first Harry Potter, of all four Avengers, of Avatar. They're really trying to show like, hey, come to the movies. We're going to have all these big re-releases, which kind of shows us what's going to happen to theaters in America at least. Because they can't put out Bloodshot and Onward now that they're on VOD, obviously.
Yeah.
So, so I think it's going to be interesting when they open up, because what I want Hollywood to do is let's give them a show. Let's get people wanting to come to the theaters. Let's get Wizard of Oz in theaters. Let's get every big classic that'll make them come out, and then and the big releases. Like I think Black Widow should come out the weekend they decide to open up, if it was me. But if they're going to close them back up again, maybe that's why they're waiting for Wonder Woman. They want it to really be subsided before they do a big release like that. So
I honestly don't know if I would go in that direction, because the thing is, in the current situation with the coronavirus, I just want to say that we are entering in a pretty dangerous time. Not because of the coronavirus getting worse and worse and stuff like that. It's not really the coronavirus. It's mainly because of people's patience. Because we're at the point where people are starting to get a little restless and a little bit impatient of the fact that the coronavirus is making people stay at home. And we are seeing a little bit of cabin fever, and people are just pretty much like getting a little crazy to the point that they want to force themselves to get out, to make, to force things to be back to normal, and also like to boost up the economy as well. Like that's one of the big motivators for them, is for the economy to go back up, because this thing has been killing everyone's economy essentially. And if we are not careful, then we're just going to end up making things worse, and the coronavirus will last even longer, and it will have a lot worse consequences. And with what you've been saying with movie theaters, I don't think, like, when opening back movie theaters, I don't think they should go and immediately make it like a big show. Like, I don't think it would be wise for them, for people to immediately all get back together and start going back to the movies and putting things back to normal. I think, like, it's just, we need to ease on things to have it be back to normal. Like, still practice some of the stuff, like washing our hands and social distancing, but, like, just, like, just shrink it gradually. Don't immediately put it back, because yeah, go on.
Oh, sorry. No, that's true. That's a very good point, actually. Maybe they should go, while they're doing like 100 people in a theater kind of things, and then ease it in, and maybe just have those re-releases that would get people like, I mean, I guess I just mean I want people to go to the movies. I don't want theaters to die. And I guess we're all scared. And I guess I am doing too much of let's restart the economy in that. That's a good point. Thank you for saying that. But I do think the re-releases would work in that, because people would go, oh, I can go to that. I've always wanted to do that. Re-familiar with them, and then when we go all out, hopefully at some point.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I get what you mean. Like, just to, like, if they do come back, then we'll see a little bit of a reboot of like movies, like people would want to see on the big screen and stuff. I do understand a bit of that sentiment, but like do it like a little bit, like one step at a time.
Yeah. No, no, the way you're framing it makes me rethink it. I think it's because we all want that normalcy. I think that's what I was going towards. But good point. We need to think of what, what's the best for everyone in this situation. In this situation, we should wait and lit up, and then, I mean, I think basically, and not to but I don't think the summer movie season is really happening this year. So I think we'll probably have to bump a few of the bigger ones into August, if they're even able to do that, because there's also a chance get out of this and then they lock everything. So that, I think, at this point,
that is actually one thing I wanted to ask you. It is regarding the factor of if we are going to see more of these delays happen. Like now that we have entered into the month of May where those movies are getting delayed, do you think we're going to start to see more like we're going to see the SpongeBob movie getting delayed, or even going into June where Disney might even delay Soul? Do you think that's going to happen?
I think that's a major possibility right now. I'm surprised SpongeBob isn't delayed. I kept thinking I'm missing a SpongeBob story all week because as soon as Scoob moved, I was like, well, is SpongeBob the next major release right now? I think it is. So maybe Viacom is just hoping, but Viacom also sells off their stuff to streaming. They don't have a streaming service, but I doubt they do that to SpongeBob. He's such a big property. So I fully expect. I would say July 4th. It might be the only weekend that's safe right now at this point. Unfortunately.
Yeah, so basically, when we enter into the month of July, that's only going to be the safe area, and that's going to be when it's all good, right?
Yes. Well, I think so, but I think we also don't know. So many people have been furloughed and lost their jobs. I think Hollywood's also like, let's let people have some money again. I don't think they want to see, the financial crisis before hit them pretty hard even. And I think that they're worried what this is going to do to these major movies, and I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, yeah, good point. Like, and that's the whole thing with the coronavirus is that the best thing to do is just take it one step at a time, and whatever precautions we have to do to like for the sake of being better safe than sorry, then we would have to go and follow that.
Yeah, no, I think, and it's going to be an interesting thing because even the Oscars have decided that they might change if they're even going to have one for this year. They might have one in 2 years and count this year and that year. And I think everyone's trying to be flexible until we can either get a cure or the situation isn't as bad as it is now. So we'll just keep seeing delays. And then the thing is with the Batman getting delayed or 10 polls that have striked out dates, those, I could see Black Widow taking Eternals date and Eternals move, everything moving
Mm-hmm.
back a bit, or them saying, look, we have to sacrifice something to Disney Plus or to HBO Max, or because you really can't put big thing after big thing after big thing forever. There's no, especially now that everyone's losing money. Financially, it's not going to work because they're going to at most I mean, I'm not a normal mover because I go a lot, and even if they have the Regal Unlimited or the discount plans, they're still not going to go that much. And I even think VOD, I mean, I'm okay, but I feel nervous about spending $20 on Trolls, because I think we're worried, and normally I would do that, but also if I saw it in theaters, it would only be me and my daughter, and it would be cheaper to see it in theaters because I have a Regal Unlimited. So I think we'll see how all this goes right now. No one's Trolls. It's going to be interesting to see that weekend, and we don't even have full data, so we'll not. But if that makes like $100 million, that might change things. So everything's very up in the air. Unfortunately, it's hard to have a you know.
Yeah, like and it is true. Like I have talked about it before, how like Trolls World Tour, like even though it is like the sequel to Trolls, it is going to be quite a test to see how if other major studios are going to follow suit, because you do bring up a good point. They can't just continuously delay their movies forever. It really is a question of how long are they going to continue to follow the word of like the movie theaters until they decided to snap and just change their mind and just go straight to the streaming services, like Disney saying we've had enough and they're going to put some of their stuff onto streaming services, or if they would go to like Netflix, or even or like maybe they might, like some companies might change their plans, and like Universal and Warner Brothers could actually put out Peacock and HBO Max earlier than expected.
I mean, that's very true. I think, and we also on demand. There's not a lot of money in on demand currently. Before this happened, that obviously context has changed. So I know that might be different, but there usually isn't. So I don't know. There's a lot of things that are very up in the air, and I think we'll see where it goes from there. But I would expect some of these, like New Mutants, I think will go to Hulu. Disney owns Hulu. Antlers, I wouldn't be
Hmm.
surprised if that one either. A lot of the smaller movies, I think they will look at, because other things. There was a, maybe it was Variety piece last night or yesterday saying how not only are they having star schedules that will delay other projects, but the supporting actors who might have a bigger role in another thing might bounce from one thing to another, and they'll have to reshoot things that they've already shot with a new actor because they can't complete half the movie because that actor's left. So this is gonna have ramifications for the next 2 to 3 years. You're gonna see projects that get canned completely. Uncharted is another one with Tom Holland that needed
Oh
to start
yeah.
before the third Spider-Man. That's not gonna happen now. I really doubt. And the third Spider-Man could get delayed. I mean, we're talking about, not to be a I'm not being extreme. These are real things, and I feel bad being like the guy constantly is like that, but there really are massive delays that are going to happen, and there might be people who say, I don't want to work on this movie anymore. Coronavirus just happened, the whole world changed. Like George Miller's Furiosa, I had heard rumblings that were sort of unconfirmed, but it seemed like he was 2 to 3 years, and from what I've read, he's moving closer to it, probably because I guess our current day and age Mad Max seems a little more relevant. So
Yeah, it's like he's looking at what's happening right now, and he's like, "Yeah, I think the world needs a bit more Mad Max."
yes. So I don't know. We'll see, but I would say anything that has a release date set could be moved just because they have to. Trolls I think also happened because they spent all their ad money already. So you can't
Hmm.
get that. Advertisers aren't giving you ad money back, even if there's a coronavirus. So they had to do something. And a lot of these newer releases sort of have to come up with something because they can't spend 20 million more dollars on advertising. That's just not a good idea. So um, we'll see. But I'd say the earlier ones are closer to going to streaming than the later ones because the awareness level isn't even there yet for them anyway. So, but Trolls, I know that's the case. Universal, I wish the theater owners were understanding because at first they were, and then that other guy, which is actually, do you know the National Association of Theater Owners is called NATO?
NATO, really?
Yeah, that's the that's the that is really the abbreviation. But they personally, the organization said they were fine with it because of the circumstances, and then this other guy went, "I'm not fine with it." And ugh, just can we just get past Trolls? Like this isn't the new normal. They were in a situation where they had to do so.
Yeah, that's what I did here. Is the one where like there are some that were actually really upset over the situation of Trolls because like this has been something that has been going on for like many years, even long before Corona, where theater owners are
Yes.
always picky and they're always like paranoid whenever there's something that could replace them. I mean, it's like ever since the days of television, they have always been acting that way, and like then home media happened and they were freaking out, and like it kept on continuously happening. Like it's always been like that.
And no, it's gotten. I mean, there was that case with the movie Tower Heist. I think it was 10 years ago. Whenever Tower Heist came out, which we all remember because that's such a memorable movie.
Oh yeah.
But uh, they were going to do this thing, which after 50 days you could pay. I think it's like 50. It was a lot. It was like $50, and you could watch it at home. And the theaters got really upset, and they had to nix the entire plan. And it was a plan Universal. I think it was Universal who did Tower Heist. Was planning, and the theater owners got really upset. And they do want you to respect about I've heard 88 days is the minimum 90-day window. But
Hmm.
I also think theater owners needed to loosen up about that because Netflix is making some movies that, like, I didn't love Six Underground or anything, but that probably would have done some numbers with Ryan Reynolds in a big action movie, or The Irishman. They could have worked with them better, and the theater owners need to meet the streamers and VOD and the studios more in the middle. They've been very inflexible, and it sounds like the streamers and all them are willing to work with them, and the theater owners are not. And that, regardless, whenever this ends, they are going to have to come to terms with the way to do that. who knows, like Amazon could buy AMC or Regal, and they could just have, here's the Amazon Prime theater, only Prime stuff is in this theater of the multiplex or something like that. So that's, that's another possibility, not to keep throwing wrenches into this conversation, but there's quite a lot of them, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know there's a lot that we could get into, but basically that is kind of the big picture where we are in right now, that we know afterwards, like once this is all over, that the world isn't going to be the same as it was before. And especially for movie theaters, like they need to rethink their game strategy, because there are going to be more people who will be more lenient, and they will stick more with streaming services, because those streaming services like Disney Plus, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, or whatever, like they've been with them since the beginning of the coronavirus and long before. So there will be a game change.
Yeah, no, and they're cheaper. I think that's, especially with financially everyone's hit, the idea of spending $20 on one movie, or what Netflix or Disney Plus is like $6. And I think you'll see more of the Regal Unlimiteds or AMC stubs, or I've heard MoviePass is trying to do a relaunch, believe it or not, during this thing. And I think those things are what people are going to do. The premium thing, I think, is really going to go out, because financially it's hard to imagine, that being responsible right now, especially, with family movies, because when you're with I have a kid, so you think about those sort of things. So,
That is true. So, with that said, though, I now want to go and pass this onto the chat wall. And now I want to, I know that, it's been crazy. It's been a while since we've been talking about it, and we went through a bit of technical difficulties. But now I want to go and ask you, related to the news and the latest update regarding the coronavirus, especially regarding with the delays of In the Heist and Scoob. How do you guys feel about it? What do you think is going to be the outcome? And do you think there's going to be more delays that we will see in the future? Let me know in the chat wall right here. By the way, do you have a link to the to the chat? Do you have a link to the Twitch?
Yes, I have it open. I have the chat open right now. So
okay, good.
What's going on?
All right, good. And by the way, I think we might have solved our problem, because so far we haven't gotten a crash yet. So far so good, actually.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Let's see. Remember last week when I predicted that Scoob would be the next in line to the delay button? Well, I'll admit I didn't think it actually happen. I think this is a good move on Warner Brothers' end, and honestly makes me wonder why Nickelodeon is being stubborn about the release of Sponge on the Run. Also, regarding the series of crashes, I just gotta say, I didn't think the Crazy Cartoon cast would be slightly delayed due to the coronavirus concerns. Yeah, this is pretty much, even the podcast is starting to cough, and it's like, oh crap, we need to get some tests right now!
Well, you can get the test, I'll have to wait. In Canada, you can get the test.
Yeah, it's easier to get the test here, unfortunately for others. Alright, let's see now. I really do hope the COVID-19 doesn't shatter any other movies, and for the most part, it's best right now to lay low about it. I wish we had the power of Thanos to snap this virus away so everyone can stop whining. We don't want to see these virus to affect anything else, especially the theaters. And yeah, they can't delay the movies forever. You either come up with a plan or you throw in the towel. Also, YouTube seems to have a bit of a probably with mentioning the virus. Give hope they don't demonetize. Oh, okay, yeah. I did hear some of those talks that if you end up talking about the coronavirus on YouTube, then they might demonetize you or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. YouTube has often done that with serious issues, and it's honestly really bad and really dumb.
I actually had a recent stream of mine, and I have Corona in it, and it wouldn't let, it had limited ads because of it.
Oh, really?
Or it had limited ads, but I'm assuming it was probably because of it.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I think probably with my previous episodes, it might get limited ads as well. I didn't fully check, but that could also be the case. Anyways, I know that.
Could I read one? Is that
Go
how we
ahead.
do this?
Or well,
Okay, because it's
yeah,
one.
if you want, yeah.
It's one thing that a couple people, one person mentioned. Hold on, one person mentioned it, and I think I should clarify something. Sorry. Okay, here it is. It's from Sabas Castle. I know that in the general scheme of things, Warner Media would be fine, and it's the smaller businesses and independent theaters that we should be worried about. But I was looking forward to many movies like Antlers and Wonder Woman 84. Also, studios can't own a theater chain, so Amazon buying Regal or AMC is very unlikely. They can own a theater, like how Disney owns El Capitan. Let's hope this gets cleared up by the time Dune and West Side Story comes out in December. To clarify that, actually, I don't know about other countries, but in America, they have changed that law, or at least they're in the process of changing that law where studios could own a theater chain. And Amazon does have a relationship with Regal currently. Like they have ads in their theaters, they have stores in their theaters. I was there and they had stores and ads in their theaters. So it is very much something that could happen because they're already but you can legally do that right now. So that's why people think that I think the law was changed because that law was 40s or 30s or something. It was a long time ago. I think it would actually be good for the theaters because they sort of need that influx of tech money. Anyway, sorry.
So that could be a possibility that we could see that. Yeah.
Yes, it's a possibility. Yes.
Yeah, and it was last week actually. I remember talking about something a little bit similar that I do feel because of all this, we could potentially see like a big buyout coming from this, like because some of the studios are being hurt so badly that I do feel like in the future or not too distant future that we're going to see like a major buyout. Like some people spreaded rumors about the possibility of Apple buying the Walt Disney Company, like the entire company of Disney. But
yeah, I've read that too.
Yeah, but I predict there might be something smaller, like someone buying like either Viacom CBS or someone buying Sony. That's what I'm thinking. Well, it would be more.
You're actually probably right because those deals, Apple's been talking with MGM. There have been talks before this all started. The reason the theaters are more likely is because AMC is the largest theater chain in America, and apparently it's valued at $200 million, which is sort of nothing to Amazon or Netflix or any of the major companies. I mean, that's like a Black Widow, basically, to them financially. So it's very much something, I think when people found out how much AMC and they're the biggest, that made everyone go, oh, they could do that. That's fairly easy for them. So I think that's why that one gets discussed so much. Disney, the reason Apple might not is because for content, yes, but Disney is a larger company than that. Disney has cruise lines, it has theme parks, it has all these other things. And Apple might look at what they're buying and go, I don't really want that stuff.
It's too big of a responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, they might be able to make even more amazing theme parks with that money. They might do amazing things with that, with Apple being involved. But they also, because Apple's been on the board of Disney because of the Pixar buyout, so they might know the company well enough that go, you know what, I'm fine making money off your stock, but I really don't want to have to deal with like cast member negotiations and stuff. So we're just gonna we're fine, we're good. We'll buy a smaller company instead. So that might be what. But, it's not a bad deal for Apple. I feel like it could work out. It's just they have to find someone. I bet they could find someone to run the cruise ships and the theme parks and all the things they're not.
They could, but I feel like it could be more messy than it's worth. All right, I'll go.
Yes.
Whoop, go on.
I agree. I mean, now The Simpsons has been bought by crazy situation, but whatever.
Yeah, true. I'll go and read one more comment before we're going to jump on our next story. I'm disappointed. Okay. I'm disappointed that Scoob ended up getting delayed. It's a great movie considering the situation we're in right now, so I do appreciate these studios to move their movies over. Also, do you think Scoob will take over the date of the live-action Tom and Jerry movie since it's slated for December 23rd and consider it as a Warner Animation Group film? It could be. It could be very likely. Like I could actually see that happen.
No, I agree with that. I think it could happen because Scoob is maybe more important because Scoob is setting up this expanded, whatever universe of Hanna-Barbera. So
Hmm.
they might go, Scoob means more to us. Which I sort of don't. I wish they weren't doing it so much in the first movie, but regardless, I think financially they might look at that as Scoob means more to us than the Tom and Jerry hitting. So that those are the kind of decisions they're going to have to make. Every studio is going to go, what means more to us 2 years down the line? What will make more at this date? Crazy decisions will happen.
Yeah, nah, I get what you mean. All right, so I think we're pretty much all good and we're all cleared out of our coronavirus talk, and I think the stream so far is going okay. I think we can now continue like this. So I think we got things
Yeah.
under control right now. So once again, I would like to apologize for the technical difficulties at the start. We did get off to a bit of a bumpy beginning, but now I think we got the hang of things. But now with all the coronavirus talk, it is all over. We can now move on from it. It is now time that we could go and jump onto our next story. And with the next story that we got here is actually going to be something that we can look forward to in the future. Now, this is going to be a bit more of a limited release, but at least this is a pretty hopeful sign that when this is all over, at least we can have some things to look forward to, including the North American release of Lupin the Third the First. Yes, GKIDS has officially gotten the North American distribution rights of the latest Lupin the Third movie, Lupin the Third the First, which is going to be from director-screenwriter Takashi Yamazaki. And so far, we don't necessarily have a full release date as of yet of when this movie is going to be coming out, but they do say that it is going to be released sometime later in 2020 theatrically, in Japanese, and also with a new English language dub. We also got a quote here coming from GKIDS president David Jetsteed and Sam Maseba, who is the director of licensing of TMS Entertainment, as they say here. As someone who has been a fan of Lupin III since the Castle of Cagliostro, I was blown away by the quality of animation and storytelling in Lupin III the First, said Jetsteed. Director Takashi Yamazaki has taken such incredible care and detail in creating Lupin's first adventure in CG, and I am hopeful that audiences fall in love with the film as much as I have. And we got one more quote coming from the vice president of TMS Entertainment, Masami Tokunaga, stating, Lupin III has been stealing hearts of audiences of all ages for over 50 years, and we're proud to be able to present the latest evolution of the world's greatest thief. We are truly excited to be collaborating with GKIDS to bring this amazing film to our fans in North America. So, it does look like we got something pretty good coming up in the future, and yeah, GKIDS got a pretty big deal with Lupin the Third the First. What do you think, Jim?
I love the trailer a lot and all the footage I've seen. I'm very excited for this. I've actually been a little worried about GKIDS because I feel like they didn't get anything nominated for Best Picture this year. Netflix gobbled that all up. And I do worry about their release strategy of doing the Fandango events in America. I mean, Fathom events, not Fandango events, sorry.
Mm.
Um, that I don't love about them, but I hope they will give this maybe a limited release. That's my hope, because when they do that, it works out. But like Murai, I don't think a lot of people see, for example. So that's my main concern. I sort of wish Netflix had it because I want people to see this, but hopefully people will check and fill up, not to push coronavirus stuff, but fill up the theaters when this gets released and all that stuff, and show that there's interest in Lupin. So if they make another one, they'll give this a bigger release, because I think GKIDS needs a hit right now. It's been a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like it was pretty rough, and a lot of their marketing and a lot of their strategies do heavily rely on award ceremonies. And yeah, they did get a pretty big hit this year, considering that none of their movies got nominated. In fact, like, and on top of that, it also does depend on like if other movies would go and overshadow others as well. Like with your case with when you mentioned Mirai, that did get an Oscar nomination, but during award season, nobody really was talking about it because everybody's focus was on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I don't think there even exists someone who says that I'd rather have Mirai win the Oscar instead of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So I do get what you mean.
I mean that is true. That I mean it's almost not fair to Mirai, but I think Mirai should have gotten that's that's actually a very good point. But I also think it should have gotten more of a limited release because I know a lot of people who literally just people who see every best animated had a hard time seeing it. And I I think GKIDS needs to get better about that because they've made animation for everyone who's watching this or listening to it, or you and I, we're gonna see Mirai regardless. You know, we're gonna figure.
Mhm.
But for most people, when the nominations come out, they're gonna look through the list and go, oh, I don't see it. Whatever, next one, and they're not gonna think about it. And that's my kind. Not to sorry, not to like be mean to GKIDS, but I wish they would release things wider because I think that'll help animation in the long term. But as for Lupin, I'm very excited for this movie. I think it looks amazing. It reminds me of the classic, the first series that Miyazaki worked on and things like that in terms of the movement and the flow. And I think it's going to be really cool. So, you know, and especially I don't think it could be like that big animated film that sort of dominates, like the big masterpiece, especially if they're committed to it being released.
Oh yeah, but if I could be a bit more optimistic than you regarding the factor of GKIDS, because I remember someone just mentioned Weathering with You, and that was actually released way earlier this year, and I do remember watching that, and believe it or not, when I went to go see it, the theater was actually packed. So there is still a pretty solid strategy that GKIDS does have. It really does depend on the movie that they would go and release and if it does get enough attention. And I feel like in the case with this one, with Lupin the Third, the First, I think that like this is a major win for GKIDS. I think this is going to be something that they would definitely go and have a great success with. Because in the case of Lupin the Third, the First, this is actually pretty highly anticipated. Like, I've seen a lot of people sharing this on social media and just loving what they are showing in the trailer, and they are adoring what they got with the animation. And even with me, I will admit, I love what I've seen so far with the trailer. It actually does look pretty epic. So I think, honestly, GKIDS really got a good deal with Lupin the Third, and hopefully they will actually do pretty well with it.
Lupin the Third is multi-generational, so I think you're right. I think it could be a big. They need a hit right now. Weathering with You, I think, worked particularly. I think because they did get a lot of crap for what happened with Your Name. A lot of people felt they should have released that wider when that was such a big hit because they just did one night things for that and limited release. But I noticed with Weathering with You, they stepped it up. And I feel like maybe it's good for them knowing that Netflix will have Klaus and
What was the crap? I lost my hand. No, I lost my body.
There we go. I lost my body. It was a hand, but anyway anyway, sorry. Yeah, I think this could work for them. And even if I would just like them to have a hit and be sturdy because I don't want streamers to take all the smaller animated movies, and they are the only distributor who's really doing that right now for theaters. And Lupin the Third, like I would like people to be excited because that's a great franchise. Like it's really fun. It's a fun character. It seems like it's using all the iconography, so if you're used to the franchise you'll be into it. And everyone I know who's ever liked Lupin watched that trailer, so hopefully they can use that hype when it actually gets released. But I agree, it's a major win and it's a good to get the distribution right.
Oh yeah, already I am actually pretty excited for this movie to come out. Like, so far I know with the theater near me, like they do put out GKIDS stuff, including like what we have recently seen with Weathering with You. And there's another recent one that I saw with my friends. We saw Ride Your Wave, which is stupidly corny but also stupidly weird at the same time.
Yeah.
Have you seen Ride Your Wave?
So the thing with that one I could only find an event for, and the problem with those is they come out at a time where it's hard for me to not I have to make dinner for my family and stuff, so it doesn't work out for me. So I did not see Ride Your Wave, but I want to see Ride. That's also why I missed Penguin Highway. I want to see some of these. Is it Penguin Highway? Penguin something?
Oh yeah, no, Penguin Highway. Yeah. Oh my god, that one. I will admit, I didn't see it in theaters. I got it through a very special occasion. I like the studio directly.
Oh.
Well, the distributor directly asked me. It's like, hey, do you want to do a review of this? And I was like, okay. They sent me the movie, and and I did it. And I think they did that with plenty of other reviewers as well. So it was a very special occasion. But but Penguin,
nice.
yeah, Penguin Highway, I would say it is a movie worth watching, though.
Yeah, I just that's my only thing with the one time thing. It doesn't really work out for me, but I think this could break out from that, which I think would be good for them.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so with that said, now I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you guys, how do you feel about GKIDS getting Lupin the Third the First and releasing it in North America? Are you guys excited for Lupin the Third to come out? Do you guys want to go and check it out? Or do you feel like maybe it should have done something else, like put it in a streaming service? Or do you think like GKIDS is not the best option? Let me know what you all think. If people are... Wait, do people have it so far? Or... Oh, got nothing on this one. It looks good.
Yeah, I feel like...
Honestly...
No, they're just okay with it?
I don't know. I'm kind of shocked. I don't know if people, like... It's rare that it happens, but, like, sometimes people are just, like they don't say anything, like... Whoop. It's like, okay. Well, it's like
they're just like, sure, why not?
Okay. Yeah, it's like, honestly, it's pretty hard to deal with that. Like, because I would expect, like, people giving me more material on this, but then it's just like, okay, now what? It's like, crap, they're not giving me enough material. Now what? All right, but we're getting, yeah, a lot of people seem to be pretty happy, actually. To paraphrase Gordon Ramsay, delicious, finally some good freaking news. Lupin the Third the First looks incredible and a fine addition to the stylized CGI collection. If it hits theaters near my area, I'll definitely check it out. However, I will say, if only we got this for Klaus. Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, that's one thing. A lot of people. That's like one downside for indie films appearing in streamers, is that they don't get a chance to be released in theaters, like Klaus, for example. I think Klaus did get a bit of a limited release, but it's like very limited though.
Well, it did, but before it really hit. And I think if they had released it more around Christmas time, because my daughter fell in love with Klaus, and we watched it a lot of times. And I think if we had known it was out around then, I might have made the effort. But having it out in like early November and not really knowing what you're getting into, things, no one's gonna show up, you know. And I think Shaun the Sheep got a wide release in other countries, but only on Netflix.
No, well, yeah, like it did get a wide release everywhere first, and then like much late. It was like it got picked up by Netflix long after it did its distribution run, when it did its theatrical run, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then, and that one I understand because I saw the first one in theaters, and I think it was me and two other people, so I get why they did that.
Yeah, same here. I don't know. I think I was probably alone, or I think there were just two other people when I went to see Shaun the Sheep movie, and I think I'm definitely sure that I was the only one watching Early Man.
Yeah, I didn't. Oh, that was the same weekend as Black Panther. I didn't even get to see Early Man because of that. I think it was that was not released very well, unfortunately.
That's not. Yeah, but then suddenly here comes Missing Link going, oh my, yeah, hold my beer.
Yeah, Missing Link didn't. Actually, when I saw Missing Link, there were 3 people in the theater, and the movie started, and I had to turn off the lights in the theater. And the theater staff was like, yeah, no.
Oh, wow. That is sad.
Yeah, true. I like when I did it, and it had a weird timer light switch, and I was like, one, the lights could turn on because I don't know what I'm doing mid-movie, but also I was like, wow, this is this does not bode well for stop motion. I actually think stop motion is going to become a streamer only thing in the next couple of years because
Yeah.
remember at the beginning of the decade, it was doing really well, and you can see the tide has definitely turned, unfortunately. But I will say I know so many kids who like the second Shaun the Sheep movie because it was on Netflix, so maybe more people will discover stop motion. I think it could work in its benefit.
I think it's like I think stop motion is going to benefit the most from being in streaming services because like theaters are pretty much hopeless for them. So having new life in streamers, I think it will do much better for them.
Yeah.
All right, so now, with that said, it is now time we're going to go and take a little break from the news, and we're going to go and check out some trailers. Now we're going to switch things up a little bit. And with the first one, speaking of streamers, by the way, we're going to be looking at a couple of trailers that are from streamers. And the first of these, we're going to go and check out the trailer for the upcoming Netflix movie, which is The Willoughbys. So let's go and check it out in 3, 2, 1, go.
Through the glass, over the hedge, follow the rainbow to where my dreams begin.
Shusher, shusher!
I will be free.
I can't knit!
All the Willoughby children ever wanted was to have a normal family. But their loving parents had no love left over for them.
Hi, Mommy. They are creepy.
Barnaby's, you stop!
Our parents are the worst. Just think about how great our family could be if they were gone.
How do you propose we discard of 2 insidious grown-ups?
Easy.
No!
No, not there. There.
So that's why the Willoughby children
We shall craft a dangerous adventure.
are sending their parents on a trip to die for.
Ghastly!
Ruthless.
What does it say?
See the world. And you know what else? No children allowed.
Full adventure!
We did it.
We are free!
Hello! Danger, danger! I am your nanny! I cook, clean, sing!
What? You sing?
Yeah! Family services?
We've received reports of children without parents.
Kids, we have to go. As long as they think you don't have a family, they'll keep chasing you.
We have to stay together.
We're gonna find a new family.
Yeah, nice.
My duty is to look after you guys.
All I wanted was a great family.
You have a great family. They need you, and you need them.
It's a candy factory.
Well, life's a bitter treat without someone sweet to share it with.
What are you feeding her?
After them!
Annie, the gate!
Alright, so that was The Willoughbys, and, well, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, that was a little bit of a surprise. Jim, what do you think about this?
I hadn't heard anything about it before the trailer dropped, but I liked it. It sort of reminds me of a much better animated version of the recent Addams Family thing.
Yeah.
Because of the gothicness of it. It's not stop motion, although it sort of looked like that. I think it's CG, correct? Am I
Yeah,
wrong about that?
it's pretty much what they're doing. It's a little bit like CG in the style of the Lego Movie, and even I gotta say, they're like the best comparison I could think of with this animation is actually with the Lego Movie, especially with how the characters mostly look like toys. In fact, if you do look at like the main kids characters, you see how their hair, it's a little bit like it's a little bit like string. Like they got
Yeah.
like string hair. So it's like it's a little bit like living toys in a sense.
No, there's a texture to it that you don't that I kind of like that CG can do that. And I like that I've noticed that with Netflix animated stuff, they go for kind of more different, kind of weirder character designs than the other studios. Not that they have a real style because they're just buying them, but that seems to be something that service attracts. And I sort of like that about it. It like makes it exciting. With Willoughbys and with their animated stuff. It sort of reminds me of Klaus a little bit, but different style and obviously very different as well.
Yeah, and I will say, in terms of the story that they're trying to tell, I know this is based on a children's book, but I do feel like with this one, it does succeed more in feeling like it came from a children's book, because, especially with this, it somehow reminds me a lot of something like a Roald Dahl story. You know, something like out of The Twits or James and the Giant Peach and stuff like that, where you do where you do have a bit of that story time, this story kind of feeling, well, more like a children's book kind of feeling, where the way they would exaggerate the roles of like the children and the parents, showing them as like kind of exaggeratingly antagonistic or exaggeratingly neglective to their children and stuff like that. It's mostly, again, like I can't help but like feel like there's a lot of comparisons to the Lego Movie, where it does feel like this is the kind of film where it is from the perspective of a kid. Like, this truly does emphasize their perspective of the whole world, and even a little bit of the art style does reflect upon that, where they do go a little bit abstract, but at the same time go somewhere that is like colorful, that you know, there's nothing that's straight, or like there's nothing that's organized, I think is the best way to put it, where where even the style, the storytelling, it all reflects upon showing the perspective of a kid. It's like, this is really all the kid's perspective. And even like the one that I'm showing here, apparently, like the one image, like I thought, like, it's like, did that happen? Yes, it is happening, where like the twins, apparently they're just putting out an entire bag of sugar onto the gas of the car.
Yeah, that's fun. It's funny, interesting, I guess you brought up Roald Dahl, because Netflix is committed to making a lot of Roald Dahl shows and movies recently. So maybe this is like something that they're in fact interested in, is sort of stories like this. Because I think Taika Waititi's doing a series, and there's
two series of Willy Wonka. 2 series of Willy Wonka he's doing.
Oh, right. Isn't one, each one is a different story of Roald Dahl, and one is about, I forget the whole.
I think the deal is that they want to make animated works based on each Roald Dahl story, and with Taika Waititi, he wants to make 2 series where one is based on the characters of Willy Wonka, and the second is a more original take on the world of the Oompa Loompas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the goal of it. But just out of curiosity, go on.
Oh no, sorry. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah. But one thing I would like to ask: would there be any criticisms or concerns that you would have with the trailer that we've seen so far with the Willoughbys?
No, I actually quite like it, and I think what I like about it personally is that it is a little weirder and darker, and it looks a little more enticing for a kids movie, and something I would show my own daughter, because it looks like interesting to watch. You know, when you see the Addams Family and the bigger stuff, I feel like this is like more of an animation fan kind of family movie than, you know, I keep comparing it to Addams Family, which is unfair, but I'd say compared to that, which felt more mainstream.
Yeah, I will say with me that if there is one little concern that I would say, and I know I've often said that a few times with other movies before, but like, if there is one little concern, I'm worried if this is going to be one of those style over substance movies where the film would rather focus more on just highly presenting its animation more so than just its story, because you could definitely tell that it's trying very hard. Like, it does focus a lot on trying to present this more abstract, cartoonier style look that is meant to feel like to really emphasize like the kids feel of all this. But I am worried if the focus is more on that than actually onto the story itself. If if the writing or if the storytelling doesn't necessarily match up with what we have been seeing with the visuals. Because I will admit the visuals are not that bad. They, like I could definitely see where the appeal is on this. It is highly colorful. The designs are unique. Some of them do look a little weird. Like the girl, like I don't know, the girl is kind of like, she's kind of strange looking. But other than that, I will say, like, I could definitely see the charm, and I could definitely see the appeal and how that fits with the story that they are trying to tell. But I'm just worried if the whole adventure that the kids are going through doesn't necessarily match up with what they have with the visuals. That's honestly my only worry.
Yeah, I can see that concern. I think the framing is so beautiful. Sometimes I don't mind it for animation. In live action, it bothers me more. But in animation, sometimes if the character designs are unique, I'm like, well, when else am I going to get to watch these designs and this kind of framing? So I kind of just go with it. But it isn't as, for repeat viewings, I think if the story's not there, I don't know how long this film will really live without that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you do bring up something good as well, as actually regarding the cinematography. Like each frame, like I would just go and like click on one random thing, and you could see how it's like, it's like nicely shot, and it's kind of like a memorable viewpoint, whether it be like the kids looking out through the window, or even like they're setting off on this weird magical ship or something. There's all these different examples, or even like the little car. Oh yeah, like the bunch of cars, which I will admit, like there are a few moments in this trailer that did make me laugh. So the humor, like, well, not necessarily laugh out loud funny, but there definitely are a lot of a lot of cute funny moments. Like the yes. whole, it's like I gotta know. It's like, dude, what are you like? I still gotta ask at the end, like, what are you honking for, dude? What do you think you're gonna achieve?
Maybe they'll just say, "Oh, sorry about that."
Yeah. Oh god, I could just imagine, like, even like this is gonna be something like after credits and the guy's still honking.
Oh, like the guy at the end of Airplane or something.
Yeah, something like that, exactly. But yeah, overall, I will say that honestly, I did had a little, like, I will confess, I did had a little bit of doubts. I did set my expectations a little low, but I'm not necessarily expecting something fantastic out of it. I'm not expecting this to be like the next Klaus, but it does look like, so far, it could be a pleasant surprise. I am a bit impressed with what they have shown in this trailer, and it could turn out to be something good.
No, it has a lot of potential, I would say, absolutely. To be like, a good fun time, especially if we're all in quarantine. This will be a welcome movie to watch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's the movie that people can, the movie people need in order to help themselves. Like, just, like a great piece of escapism, I think is the best way to put it. Because this definitely does seem like a piece of escapism that's like way far off from our reality. So it's the kind of movie that they would put up, and it's just something that like we could just watch and have fun with. Like, if it's not going to be something that will be amazing, then at least it'll be something to just turn off our brains and just have fun with it.
And I think it's kind of almost a perfect kind of family movie, because you get kind of that darker sensibility. You get the and jokes that parents like that aren't just like inappropriate jokes that go over the kids' heads, like the honking of the car or something like that. But you also get it from the kids' perspective. So the kids think it's for them, the adults think it's for them, and everybody can have just like a good time. That's at least the vibe I get from it. now. So,
Yeah, so I think there could be something fun with this. All right, so with that said, now it's time to pass on the mic to the chat wall, and hopefully you guys will have more to say for this. Not like before, but anyways, what do you all think about this trailer of The Willoughbys? Do you think this is going to be a good movie? Did you enjoy what you've seen in the trailer? Do you have your doubts on it? Let me know what you all think. Okay, now, holy crap, now the cavalry has arrived. Okay, let's see here. My best perspective to say for this is, if the story of Mary Poppins, if it were executed in the style of Disney's version of James and the Giant Peach, where a bunch of kids join along with a nanny who sings and goes into the journey to have the kids find a new family they can be upon. It does seem pretty interesting, and it might actually be pretty good. Who knows? This does have some potential, and maybe it can be enjoyable. All right, that's nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. Gotta admit, this was very charming. The animation looks a bit stop motion, mostly where you look at the character animation and a bit of the character designs. Some of the humor I see here does fall a bit flat, though. And by the way, oh god, yeah, a lot of people have been trying to push this out onto the chat wall. Yes, the director of this movie is Chris Pern, who is one of the directors of Cloudy 2. Yes, I know, but I'm not gonna put that against him. Like, so far, like, from what I've seen in this, like I said, it does look pleasant, it does look nice. So I'm not gonna put his past against him with that other movie. So I just want to clarify on that there. Let's see, what else do we got here? All I gotta say is, even though the animation looks great, I'm not really sold on the story, and the humor is not really working for me. I'll watch it, but I'm not expecting this to be one of Netflix's best. I'm expecting this to be just okay. Alright. Let's see what... Go on?
They also have that Glenn Keane movie coming out later, which I think I'm excited for.
Oh my god,
I forget what it's called.
It's like it's something Moon or something like that. It's the one that he's working with Pearl Studios, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen anything from it, but just to me, knowing that name he's doing was exciting enough for me. So
yeah, I know I'm excited for it too. I haven't heard anything about it just yet, but I know it's something that I need to keep my eye on because, yeah, it is Glenn Keane after all. Let's see. I dig the art style, but the premise, neglectful parents, zany nannies, evil police, eesh. Not exactly the most original thing that grabbed my attention. I mean, I know a certain animation reviewer who hates the kind of parental characters, either dense or neglectful to the child. I don't think that's me. Probably referring to someone else. Anyways.
Yeah, I don't know who that was. Was that me? Was that us?
No, it's not me. Well, okay, yeah, like neglectful parents and stuff like that is bad, but I don't know if like in my list of rants I've done, I don't think that's one of them. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not one for me. You know, actually, when he was talking, or when that person was talking about the plot, it reminded me this movie has a lot in common with that 90s movie, Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. Did you ever see that?
I have never heard... What?
You don't know Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead?
I have never heard of that.
Oh, it's wild. It's wild. It's Christina Applegate, and like they have a babysitter who's old and she dies, and her mom's like on this trip, and by the end they have like a fashion show in their backyard because she had to get a job to support her family. It's crazy, but it's not... It's crazier because it's live action, and I don't think you do that now, but it sort of reminds me of Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead a little. Maybe I'm showing my age that I remember early 90s kid movie.
Okay, I never thought... Yeah, I don't think... I need to... I'll need to keep my eye out on that. Maybe they have it for, like, Netflix, for Netflix or something. Who knows?
Yeah, now I'll have to review Don't Tell for the Willoughbys. That'll give me an excuse. My wife actually recently was like, what? I thought everyone had heard of it, but I've noticed a lot of people are like, "What is this movie? Why would you name a movie that? That just sounds like your children are in danger." So, it's more fun than kids being in danger.
Yeah, literally, that is my first time ever hearing about that. I
Really?
never heard of that. No, never before.
Wow, that's so funny.
Oh yeah. Let's see. I'll read one more before we move on. I really like the art style of this movie and the fact that they use lower frame rates to simulate stop motion. To anyone who compares this movie's character design to the Addams Family movie, it's not a coincidence since this is being produced by the same studio and they also have the same character designer, Craig Kelman. Okay, so yeah, so there is a bit of that. Yeah, it is true. I mean, like, you could see a little bit of that same style, although I will admit, thinking about it, like, if there is if there is a character design that I would prefer compared to, like, the recent Addams Family movie and the Willoughbys, I'd probably go with the Willoughbys, honestly. Like, if you don't look at the Addams Family themselves and you look at all the other weird big mouth like characters.
Yeah, I actually think it sort of looks like a more defined, like, Addams Family was the first movie, and then he got to work on that design. It's even better for the Willoughbys, is kind of the way I see it, knowing that it's the same person.
Yeah, you know what? You know what actually works about Willoughbys more with this character design is the storybook feeling, because the characters do look like they would come out of they do look like storybook characters. Like, you would see this art style in a storybook, so it actually works much better for this, more so than something like Addams Family.
Yeah, and in fact, that was what they were trying to do with that. Succeeds more than that, because that was trying to look like the comic that Addams Family originally comes from. And this looks, I don't know the story, the book, I've never read it, but this looks to me like it would be in a storybook more so than.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, but I think we're pretty much all good. Oh, and by the way, if you guys are curious to check out when the Willoughbys are going to be coming, well, you'd have to wait just a little less than a month when the Willoughbys is going to be coming out on April 22nd. So mark your calendars if you guys are interested in checking out the Willoughbys. But now, it is time that we're going to go and jump onto our next story, and we're going to jump from one streamer to the next, where we are now going to go onto Hulu, and we're going to be talking about a series which is going to be developed by one of the creators of Rick and Morty, in which we will go and check out the teaser trailer and our first full look at Solar Opposites. So let's check it out in 3, 2, 1...
Oh my god, we don't have noses!
This May, from Justin Roiland, the co-creator of Rick and Morty.
We're from outer space. You're the one who chose to land here.
My scans didn't indicate it was a human-infested crab hole without a single redeeming value, Terry.
Comes a series about a family trying to fit in on a strange new world.
Wait! We can't park here! There's street cleaning tomorrow.
Man caves.
What's Diggle Bix?
I don't know. Some sort of human code.
Recreational drugs.
By the way, I got some heroin. You guys want to do heroin?
Bullying.
Go back to Uranus.
Animal rights. Zombie teenagers. Magicians. Black holes. Googlers. And the pupa.
Look at the pupa. I told you to stop giving the pupa candy. He can't eat candy. It gets him sick.
Oh, that's sick.
Solar Opposites.
Now let's get out of here before we get arrested for all this shit.
All episodes May 8th on Hulu.
So that was indeed Solar Opposites, brought to us by Justin Roiland. So, are you a fan of Rick and Morty, Jim, by the way?
Justin Roiland or Rick and Morty?
Either or.
I've seen, I think, most of Rick and Morty, and I like Justin Roiland. I'm curious about this because it looks so much like Rick and Morty and has similar voices. It sort of reminds me of, I guess this is the same studio that makes Rick and Morty, and it sort of feels that way, almost like how, you know, an animation studio gets its style and keeps going with it. It's like almost too close for me, but I understand how that would be, you know, successful, since Rick and Morty's like one of the biggest shows right now.
Yeah, I do get what you mean. Actually, like now that you mention now that you did actually mention how it can be a bit too close, I do understand where you're going with it. Where like there is a lot of similarities to Rick and Morty, and probably a little bit too much. I mean, the premise, of course, is a little bit different, considering that this is a show that is starring aliens that are trying to live a regular life on Earth. But in this case here, what is a little bit too similar is the fact that we have like kind of this family series where it's also very sci-fi as well, and does lean heavily onto the sci-fi themes. It's just replace the Back to the Future-esque kind of theming and replace that with just full-on aliens. And I could see where it just seems like this is just gonna literally be another Rick and Morty. But then again, I do understand where we can also see some of the success as well, because it also, like, even though it does have a lot of elements from Rick and Morty, it does also carry over some of the good stuff as well, where it would feature a lot of the humor is pretty much the same thing. A lot of the unique the animation, of course, like it is the same style, and that could be a given considering it is from Justin Roiland, so that's fair enough. But also like the amount of detail and the craftsmanship and how far they would go with it, like, you know, have like like even especially at the end where like it would cut to many different elements happening at the same time, where we would see kind of like these epic adventures like Shrunken Humans, or all these different characters, or epic moments. Like there's even one little part before the title where the aliens are fighting off what's probably zombie humans and stuff like that. So it is going to share a lot of similarities to something like Rick and Morty. Oh crap. Hold on a sec. Is it back? Hold on. I think we might have to wait a little bit. Man, I don't know what is... Okay, no, it's... Okay, I think it's... Is it coming back up? Yeah, hold on.
It looks back to me. Is it back?
Oh, okay, we should... Okay, no, okay, it should be back. It should be back by now. Okay, just had to double check because it looks like there was a little bit of an error. But okay, no, we're back again. It's back to normal, so we should be good. Anyways, going back to this, yes. Looking at what we got with Solar Opposites, there are a lot of the good stuff, but also like maybe a little bit too much of the same. Where like how much like it does bring up the question: how much of this that we could just easily replace with just having Rick and Morty instead of the aliens of Solar Opposites? Like like that could be the worst case scenario, is that these are all just plots that were rejected from Rick and Morty, and now they're just put onto Solar Opposites. So I don't know if it's going to bode well for the series, but it could have promise.
I mean, I think it could work. I mean, it doesn't have... I don't think Dan Harmon isn't involved, and I know he gets a lot of credit for Rick and Morty. But not that Justin Roiland doesn't do anything, but you know, I think it'll be interesting to see what works without some of the Rick and Morty writers and the differences. But it does feel like Rick and Morty live two houses down from the cast of Solar Opposites. You know, it looks that similar, and I'm surprised because like when the Simpsons, their Gracie Films made The Critic, they intentionally got a different voice cast. They got, you know, different character design somewhat, and it looked different. You could tell it felt like a different cartoon. And I feel like maybe, I'm surprised they didn't go in that route, but maybe they just went, well, I like these people. We have these writers. We'll be good. And that's fine. I mean, studios do that all the time. It's just, I think now we notice it faster than before.
Yeah, but I don't think it's just that. I mean, like with The Simpsons and The Critic, even if they would have a little bit of the same style, like at least they could be distinctively different from one another in tone. Like probably another example is like the shows of Matt Groening, where he pretty much uses the same art style for The Simpsons, Futurama, and Disenchantment. But those three shows, they're completely different from one another. With Rick and Morty, it's not necessary. With Rick and Morty and Solar Opposites, it's not necessarily the art style that's the main issue. I think it's more the tone of sci-fi, where we're kind of entering into the same territory as we have before with Rick and Morty. I think it's really the fact that, like, it's more the fact that Justin Roiland is sticking to the same themes, kind of like going through the same stuff that's already been done before. Again, I have to ask, like, well, what's the big would there be that big of a difference if we would replace these aliens with the main family from Rick and Morty?
I mean, based on those clips, you're right. There wouldn't be, like, that one joke where he says, let's try heroin or something. Forget what he says. Something about heroin.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, I was like,
here, yeah. Hold on.
Drugs.
yeah,
Wait,
where
I
he
got some
said,
heroin.
when
Do
they
you guys
say
wanna
that,
do
to me, that was like,
Bully.
oh, that's Rick and Morty, or that's Adult Swim, or that's the kind of joke they know that will audience. So it felt like that joke actually kind of, I thought, might have gone too far. Not that because I'm like very prude or something, but it just felt like so much of a, I know this audience will like this joke. But the rest of the clips, if you took them out and put Rick and Morty in there, I probably, and you showed it to me 2 days from now, I'd go, oh, new Rick and Morty, and I would believe it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. And it's kind of weird. Like, I was trying to think about, like, why is it that Hulu would go into that route? But then again, I realized, like, wait a minute, the thing is, Hulu doesn't necessarily need this, because Hulu is the streaming service that does have Rick and Morty. Am I right?
it has it right now is the best answer, because HBO Max is going to launch and they're going to have Rick.
Oh, okay. Now that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, because, like, it is true, like, I believe, yeah, since Hulu had Rick and Morty, it was, like, one of their most popular shows on that streaming service, and now that Rick and Morty is going to move to HBO Max, maybe this is going to be, like, their replacement, that they need Justin Roiland to create another Rick and Morty-esque show to not lose that audience.
Yeah. And he might also think, like, Rick and Morty, it's in such a safe place in terms of financially and its success that he might want to mess with something else. Like, there might be a sci-fi concept that he feels like he could mess around with differently. That's a possibility. That actually, now that I'm thinking about when you brought up the Hulu thing, that there's other financial reasons he might want to do that. Like, maybe you are right about the rejected plots, but maybe it's rejected plots in a good way. Like, maybe Dan Harmon's like, you're not doing that, Justin, or another writer hates, but he really loves it, and it could be really good. Maybe we'll find out the real genius of Justin Roiland through this. Or it could just be, you know, the B show to Rick and Morty's A show, but I'm sure Hulu's happy just to have that, to be honest, you know? That could be good for them.
Okay, yeah, I do get your point. So, that could honestly be the whole case, is just the fact that it's mostly and it is actually true what you're saying, is that this is more the show that will have a lot more of Justin Roiland's voice, more so than some of the others. Like, since Rick and Morty is a collab between Roiland and Dan Harmon, this one is more purely Justin Roiland, so that he would have more creative freedom and to have more of his voice and more his input onto a show like Solar Opposites. Like, this would be like if Rick and Morty is just controlled by Justin Roiland.
Yeah. I mean, well, has Justin Roiland had was the lead writer on before Rick and Morty, or no? Did he have something? I forget.
I'm sure he might have, but actually, I'm gonna look that up right now.
Yeah, this is the part where Jim and Matt look up things on the internet.
Yeah.
Because right when I thought that, I was like, I know I could name you, you know, Dan Harmon had Community, And
let's see. Oh boy. It does. Okay, well, I think these are just. Yeah, a lot of them are just. Okay, these are just voiceover roles, though. These are just acting roles.
Yeah, he did a lot of voice stuff, but the only one he was a writer on Fish Hooks. I forgot. I haven't really watched Fish Hooks. I don't know, but yeah, the only thing he's written on is like Fish Hooks, Rick and Morty, things of that nature. Oh, he created House of Cosby's and stuff for what's that thing called? Channel 101, which he also created. Dan Harmon and Rob Schrab.
House of Cosby's and Acceptable TV. And apparently, yeah, and it says here he's also a story writer of Fish Hooks, and that's pretty much it, actually.
Yes, this is his first show. It might be good for him, because I think that's what helped hone Dan Harmon is working by himself, and maybe this will help Rob Schrab as well. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, you do bring up a good point. That could be the case, that it could help out Justin Roiland, but like, honestly, I think this is going to be one of those things that it will be a wait and see kind of thing, because I do see two sides of the whole situation. On one hand, I could definitely see this be very successful, considering its strong comparisons to Rick and Morty, and it could actually help out Justin Roiland as a creator to show purely his voice. But then again, like, I can also see the downsides where the comparisons to Rick and Morty might screw itself over, and it could be a bit too much, where where people are just watching this and thinking, okay, well, this is just another Rick and Morty. So, like, why would I watch this when I would watch Rick and Morty?
No, you're right, because as soon as I saw the character design, even though, I knew who it was from, but as instantly when I see that character design, like, it's very hard not to think of Rick and Morty when watching it, because then you hear, Rick's voice, and you see the character design, and instantly, I'm surprised about the voice cast. I would have gone a different route with that. I think that's probably the design is a mistake, probably, but the voice cast is probably bigger, because it's hard not to think of Rick when you hear that voice. So I think they should have gone, and I'm sure they could have gotten someone. I'm surprised they didn't, but they should, because that would work out better for them. It would be more distinctive.
I think that's more the decision of Justin Roiland, because he is also a pretty prominent voice actor as well. Like, he's done a lot of voiceover roles, and especially, like, if he is involved with a project, he would want to voice a character or voice one of the main characters at least. So I think it's mainly because of that. I think it's more of Justin's decision, so that he would literally have a prominent voice onto the show. So I think that's more his idea.
No, I mean, I'm sure it was his or, the studio's idea. I'm just surprised they, I think he has enough work. He's okay. He could have.
Share the position onto someone else. Like, he's already doing a lot, being the co-creator and showrunner of this. So I do get what you mean on that.
Yeah.
All right, but so yeah, if you guys are interested, if you do want to go and check out Solar Opposites, the show will be coming out on May 8th. And with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you think about Solar Opposites and the teaser trailer that we have gotten so far? Are you interested in checking out the show? Is the connection with Justin Roiland and Rick and Morty enough for you to go see it? Or is it enough for you to not go see it? Let me know what you all think. Alright, let's see here. Yeah, this is definitely a Rick and Morty vibe. The voice acting is pretty good, and the comedy's alright. Plus, I have to give props for not having another animated series centered around a family, but it's not all that original, and it seems pretty simplistic. I'm not sure if I'll give it a watch, but at the end of the day, it could be worse. It could be like the recent episodes of Family Guy. It could be possible, and I mean, recycling material before, yeah?
No, I was just like, ouch. That was harsh.
Yeah, that burn goes a little deeper than expected, but it is true that, like, I mean, we have seen recycled elements before, like, especially with Fox's animated series. Like, we don't know how many times that they've done so much of that, like, family sitcom style formula, like with The Simpsons and then Family Guy and then American Dad and then Bob's Burgers and stuff like that. They keep on recycling it, but those shows have been proven to be very successful. So maybe it's the same case with Solar Opposites that, yeah, they're pretty, like, Solar Opposites is to Rick and Morty like what Family Guy is to The Simpsons, but maybe it could be a good thing and it could find success on its own.
Agreed.
Let's see now. I'll skip this show. This show really feels way too much like Rick and Morty, not just in the designs, but also the humor. I wish there was some major difference between this and Rick and Morty. Even The Simpsons and Futurama managed to be very different shows while still having similar art styles. Yeah, exactly. That's why, like, the tone and the theming is often very important as well if you want to differentiate the series that you're making. Let's see here. I don't know if I want to check this series out on Hulu because Solar Opposites is too similar to Rick and Morty. I'm not a fan when it comes to Rick and Morty and only saw 1 or 2 episodes of it, and that's it. Not saying it's bad or anything, it just didn't pique my interest. Since this show is too similar, especially having Justin Roiland playing similar characters to, like, with Rick, I doubt I would ever check it out, giving it a skip in my taste. Okay. Let's see. Oh, now we can count this show as a Disney adult-oriented show since it's produced by 20th Century TV Studios. Well, I mean, they're not going to be direct about it, but I guess technically...
They were going to have to, but sorry, to interrupt. They were going to have to because that company's so large, and they want Hulu to be the grown-up streaming, the more mature streaming service versus Disney Plus. So I think that kind of works for them because it sells like, look, we have adult animated stuff on Hulu.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, like, Hulu might as well be like the Touchstone streaming service where this is where Disney would put their adult stuff. But yeah, like, they're not going to be direct, but technically, yes, it does count as a Disney show. And not going to happen. I never liked Rick and Morty's style to begin with, not to mention its crude humor is not something I would handle, not to mention all the controversies that has been made over the years, like the McDonald's and something like that. I'm really just going to skip this entirely and hopefully pretend it doesn't exist. Okay, well, wow. Some people are just not fans at all. Let's see. I might not have Hulu or watch Rick and Morty, but it looks decent. But I might not miss that much if I skipped it. Plus, why the green alien looks like Squidward with some green skin and his brown shirt. Oh my god, that does look a little bit like Squidward, don't you think?
Yeah, it does look like Squidward.
Like, you just add a nose onto that, and it's like, okay, you do see a little bit of similarities. Or, like, just, like, you grow the head a little bit, then you add his signature nose, and yeah, boom, that's full-on Squidward here.
The first joke of the trailer, I was wondering, were there animation people commenting on the fact that these guys didn't have noses? Because that felt like almost like Thundercats Teen Titans Go thing recently, where they're like, let's respond to this criticism. It felt like that, but I don't know if anyone got upset.
I don't think so. Like, I wouldn't really, I wouldn't see, like, the internet stoop that low where they would get angry because the character designs of some show doesn't have noses. I don't think it's that kind of response. Like, if this would be like season 2 or season 3 of Solar Opposites, then maybe, but for like a teaser trailer for a new series, I don't think so. I think it's more like self-referential it's like self-referential humor of just already poking fun of themselves if no one else have done so yet.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, I think that would be the case. All right, so with that said, it is now time that we are going to jump onto the grand finale, and this was actually a bit of news that actually occurred just yesterday. This is like a last minute addition, but this is actually one where I never thought I would hear this news or I would hear about this movie in years. It was like something that happened momentarily and then suddenly it just left. But now it seems like we do actually have some updates about this, but not necessarily the way you think. Because yes, finally, the Dragon's Lair movie is gonna happen, but in live action. Yes, Netflix has officially made a deal where they are going to be producing a live-action movie of Dragon's Lair, but like I said, it will be live-action, and they even managed to get Ryan Reynolds to not only produce, but also star in the feature. At the same time, they do have a lot of producers that will be involved as well, which will include Roy Lee of Vertigo Entertainment, Trevor Eggleston of Underground Films, and on top of that, the original people who did work on the movies, who did work on the original game as well, including Don Bluth, Gary Goldman, and John Pomeroy. They will be involved as producers. And on top of that, we also have Dan and Kevin Hagelman, who are actually going to go and write the script, actually. And do we have any quotes coming from here? No, surprisingly not. But that just seems to be the news that they have. It's just the fact that they're going to be making a live-action Dragon's Lair movie starring Ryan Reynolds. And yes, the original team, Don, Gary, and John, will be there, but just as producers, and I believe also creative consultants as well. So, Jim, are you surprised to hear about this once again?
I was surprised. I knew one day we would probably get a live action one of Don Bluth's classics. I thought that was something that was an easy, a studio that had the rights would want to do something like that because they're so beloved. But I was surprised by this, especially with the Kickstarter for the Dragon's Lair movie. And I know they were thinking this, and clearly they had discussions with them, but I guess they went a different way with Netflix and Ryan Reynolds, which that seems really out of but Ryan Reynolds is such a huge star. I'm sure people will check it out. But it's weird. This is his second video game thing after The Free Guy, which potentially will come out on July 4th.
Third, technically. Third, I would say.
Third, okay.
Because there is Detective Pikachu.
Oh, you're right. Oh, okay. You know what? For a second, I thought you meant July, but right. Detective Pikachu. I forgot about that. So yeah, this is that's a good area for him because I feel like a lot of people like Ryan Reynolds play video games. So
that is true.
Most people, but it's interesting to be. This is both a video game movie and an animation to live action adaptation at the same time.
In a way, because the original Dragon's Lair is in that strange middle where it technically is an animated project in itself, but it is technically a video game, and it's one of the most well-known classic video games from the 1980s as well. But also, I do want to comment, by the way, regarding the factor of Ryan Reynolds, is the fact that, yeah, I know it seems a bit typical now and maybe a little bit cliched that we're getting Ryan Reynolds or Ryan Reynolds star in a video game-based movie, but I would go and make this an exception. Because the thing is, a lot of people think about Ryan Reynolds more for his personality, but what many people might not necessarily realize, you look at his face, and I think it actually works out very well because he does look like Dirk the Daring. Like, if you look closely, he has that... there's something about him that has that similar look in a way.
No, that's actually very true. I would say, now that you bring it up, I also actually have casting for the... what's his girl? I don't remember the girl's name.
Daphne. Princess Daphne.
I actually think his wife could play Princess Daphne. Blake Lively, I think, would be a good choice, actually. So I don't know if that. I have no source on that. I'm just throwing it out there. I think it was a casting choice.
Yeah,
and I don't
could.
think they've worked together before.
That could. I could definitely see the potential, and yeah, it would be cute for like Ryan Reynolds to play the hero, and like he has to save his wife in a way. Like it would make sense. I could definitely see that. But also, one thing I do want to bring up though, that is actually interesting, and a lot of people have been talking about this, but technically there is no confirmation if the Dragon's Lair movie is now this. Because I've heard a lot of different talks about what is going on with it. Some people say it's still going on. Some people say it's canceled or whatever. Because I was actually one of those people that did pledge to the Indiegogo campaign. In fact, like if you see behind me, like you'll see, like I do have one of the animation cells, or one of the sign animation cells of Princess Daphne. And with that, I have seen like the stuff. I did get my rewards with that one, and also I did see like what did come out of that whole campaign. I saw the pitch reel myself, which was actually pretty good, but I haven't heard anything so far if Don Bluth, Gary Goldman, and John Pomeroy decided to switch plans with the Dragon's Lair movie and just make it like this. Like, admittedly, I'm not necessarily... go on. Sorry.
No, no, sorry to interrupt, but I think I'm surprised he didn't make any statement about that, because I've noticed a lot of the animation community has been talking about, well, what about this Kickstarter? And did we contribute to this live action movie? And where does that put all of us who... I mean, I didn't contribute to it, but everyone who did, because I think we thought we'd get a new Don Bluth animated movie, not an adaptation of Don Bluth. And if their money went to starting this, that kind of starts a whole, I don't know, where does that put everything, you know? And I think they should do an animated one also, because we should also add that Dragon Slayer played a big part in Stranger Things season 3, which might be why they're pushing this so hard.
That could... Oh, of course. I mean, like, Stranger Things has definitely influenced a lot of major things in pop culture, especially when Stranger Things is the reason why Toto's Africa became so popular recently. But with the Dragon's Lair movie, and especially the Indiegogo campaign, the one thing that I do want to mention is that technically, it like the whole purpose of it is to go and fund the pitch reel for it. Is that Don Bluth and Gary Goldman wanted to go and create something that they could go pitch to executives in order to get a lot more money, like millions of dollars, in order to make a movie. So it's not necessarily to fund the movie, it's to fund the pitch reel. So technically, the campaign did fully serve its purpose. But, like, it is true that we haven't heard anything about it since. And even with Don Bluth, the most that he has been doing so far is just promoting his Don Bluth University, where he would be teaching people how to create their own animation or how to draw and stuff like that. We haven't heard anything from it since, so we don't fully know if this truly is something that is replacing the whole idea of the Dragon's Lair movie, or if this is happening and we're also gonna go and have an animated Dragon's Lair movie from Don Bluth and gang. We don't fully know, but I mean, like, if the case would be the latter, then being associated with Netflix would actually be the perfect choice for Don Bluth, because if there's going to be a studio out there, or if there is going to be a distributor that would be most likely willing to go and produce a fully hand-drawn animated Dragon's Lair movie, it would be Netflix.
Yeah, and he's also been meeting with, he had that, remember he went to Disney Studios what was that, a while ago, like a year ago maybe?
Yeah, probably a year or two ago, but it is true that, like, he did visit the Disney Studios at one point.
Yes, and he's trying to, it seems like I've heard him talk about doing stuff with streamers, so maybe that would be a good avenue for him to go into. I hope Netflix does do another Don Bluth movie, because I think we all would like that to happen.
Yeah, like we would one day, yeah, like one day we would love to see Don Bluth create another animated feature, because literally the last time he has made a movie was Titan AE, and I know he has done a few animated works before, but really the last time he has truly done anything was that Dragon's Lair movie pitch reel, and that's pretty much it. Other than that, I would love to see, like, I'm with you. As an animation fan, I would love to see another Don Bluth movie happen. And I mean, especially the fact that, like, he's, 82 now? And I mean, he doesn't have that much time left. So if another one can happen, hopefully we will have it soon. But, yeah, I don't, like, honestly, the fact that this is just announced yesterday, it does open up so many questions that we don't know. Hopefully, Don Bluth and Gary Goldman can clarify what's going to be happening with all this, if they can go and answer some questions. Who knows what's going on with it? Maybe this is another project. Maybe this is the Dragon's Lair movie that will happen, but I don't know. But I will say, so far with this one, I guess it's way too early to say anything, but so far, like, the fact that they did have Ryan Reynolds on board to go and star into the project, like, it is a good sign for something. At least, like, it's one step in the right direction that this could turn out good. So at least for this live action movie, like, it does look like it could have a little bit of promise so far with just the information that is starring Ryan Reynolds. But as an animation fan, it does open up so many questions about the fate of the animated movie, or the long fabled animated movie, because I know that's a project that Don Bluth had literally been talking about for decades to make a movie about. Like, even long before the long before the Indiegogo campaign, like, he was talking about it for so long, the fact that his next movie was gonna be was gonna be like Dragon's Lair the movie and stuff like that. I don't know if it's been I know it's been more than a decade, but I don't know if it's even been 2 decades or something. I don't know, but I do know that it's been so many years since that promise has been going on for so long.
I mean, the one thing we could maybe more optimistically is think that if this movie happens, which with Ryan Reynolds, I think it will. He's a big star, and if he's committed to it, I think it will. And when it does happen, and this is popular, people are going to look at Don Bluth more. And if there's more, people looking at Don Bluth, maybe there'll probably be more live action movies. But also, there could be another animated one, because people will be rewatching Don Bluth and thinking about it outside of, like, the animation community. And I think that could be actually a positive in a sense for especially someone smaller like him. So maybe it might work out. Maybe we'll finally get the Troll in Central Park live action remake out of this, which I think we've all been waiting for.
Oh my god, I would be so down for that.
Then Pebble and a Penguin. I think Troll in Central Park would be the next after this, and then Pebble and a Penguin at that.
Yeah, we need a live action remake of A Troll in Central Park starring James Corden. It would be perfect.
Oh my god, I love this casting already. But I am curious. Right when I heard this, I was like, so Space Ace is next, though? Like,
that could actually, like, who knows? Or maybe if this is successful, then maybe we'll also have the sequel to Time Warp.
That's true.
Oh, but you could be right, and that could be one thing to be optimistic about, is that hopefully this this could actually help out with the comeback of Don Bluth, which, by the way, are any of the, speaking of Netflix, are any of the Don Bluth movies on Netflix? Like, do you know if stuff like An American Tail or even some of the things you mentioned, like Troll in Central Park or Secret of Nim, or Land Before Time even, are those on Netflix?
Go or Tubi. I think they're on kind of the more low rounds, unfortunately. And I think some of them are even on YouTube.
On YouTube? Really? Like, for free?
I think, wasn't All Dogs Go to Heaven one of the free ones? When I did a review of it, I think I saw it. or it's from, maybe it was like Voodoo or something. But they're pretty easy to find, but they're on kind of all the lower tier kind of streaming services. I don't know if any of them are on Netflix, but I know when we watched All Dogs Go to Heaven, I think it was on Tubi or Vudu or Film Rise, like those ones. But I don't know about all of them. I know I've watched American Tail before on Netflix, but it's been a little bit, so I don't know where they all are now. And since they all have different distributors, and all the rights issues, I'm sure they're never on the same one at once, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
maybe Netflix can correct that. Maybe we can have a good, how they've invested so much in Aardman. Maybe they'll invest a lot in the catalog of Don Bluth. And I don't know. That he's in the building and talking to them about a major project. The more we're talking about this, the more optimistic I'm feeling about it, actually, because maybe they're like, hey, and you can make movies, and we sort of approve everything, so why not? you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, just talk to, like the fact that he now has a big connection with Netflix is definitely a step in the right direction to see if Don Bluth could possibly have a potential comeback. I mean, after all, like they are picking up a lot, like they are very serious when it comes to building their kind of their animation division. Like they already have some prominent figures there already, like Jorge Gutierrez, Alex Hirsch, and they even got Glenn Keane as well. So having Don Bluth by their side, I'm sure it's going to be quite a boost. I'm sure that's going to be something that Netflix could actually be really excited. They could be excited for it.
No, and I think one of the things that, as I've researched Don Bluth, and I know you've researched Don Bluth a lot as well, is when you find out what happened to his films, it's usually bad release dates, bad promotional campaigns, things of that nature. Well, look at what happened. I have to say, with Shaun the Sheep, the sequel, much bigger hit in America because Netflix handled it. And they can, they're very good at handling animation, because I Lost My Body, if that had come out by another distributor, I don't think as many people would have seen it and wouldn't have had that big of a talk. So if they do get a Don Bluth movie, I think it could be his biggest hit since Anastasia, and maybe even bigger in terms of eyeballs, because people will find it. I don't know. And this is a major project. This isn't, to be clear on this isn't like a small, like, I don't know, Ryan Reynolds will do a week or something. Like, this is going to be $200 million. This is going to be Netflix is going to have a huge campaign. They're going to have to deal with Don Bluth a lot. So if they do like working with him and he does pitch an animated movie, there's a high potential it could still happen. It's still a possibility, I guess I should say. It's a possibility, but it is weird they didn't clarify that. I wish they had, because now we're all kind of sitting around like, wait, what happened, guys?
Yeah, but again, keep in mind, this is like this is a news that is fresh out of the oven, and we are in the weekend, so we do have to wait a little bit. But I do imagine eventually, when the time will come when this is like when Don Bluth and Gary Goldman will come back, like during the weekday, hopefully they will clarify a few things. Like, this is a news that's just a little too sudden for now. So it's more something. Let's just see during the weekday, like when Monday comes back, then maybe we'll get a little bit more answers. But for now, for now, it does seem like this could be the start of something.
Yeah. Oh, they did get that tweet, which is a picture of Don Bluth in the Netflix building. So we at least know they are taking him seriously. So that's the only thing we really do know. I forget who tweeted it, but it was him in the building.
I think it was the traditional animation Twitter page or something like that. It's one of those kinds of like one of those Twitter pages. I think that's the big idea. But ultimately, I think it really, like, from our talk and stuff like that, I think it really does highlight that what we really do want the most out of all this is we really, like, as animation fans, we would love to see another Don Bluth movie, regardless if it actually is the long-awaited Dragon's Lair movie or if it is something that's completely different. Just the thought about Don Bluth coming back, creating another animated feature like back in his heyday with stuff like Secret of Nim and American Tail or Land Before Time is a pretty exciting idea. So I think that's what we are hoping for the most. And even with this news, like with the live action Dragon's Lair movie with Ryan Reynolds, it does keep us optimistic to know that maybe there is going to be something that will happen in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so with that said, I would like to go and move on to the chat wall, and I want to ask you guys about what do you think about this announcement of Netflix making a live-action movie based on Dragon's Lair. Do you guys think it's a great idea? Is this something that you want to check out? Are you still curious about what's happening with the animated film? Let me know what you all think. Let's see here. I got very disappointed when I first heard these news, since this is Netflix we are talking about. The same streaming service which brought us Castlevania, Glitch Tech, Green Eggs and Ham, and most notably Klaus. Since this is Netflix we are talking... Okay, anyways. I was wondering, I was like, very disappointed. Anyways, though I did hear this cool idea from Rebel Taxi, who imagined that the live-action movie would be similar to the video game where we could choose how the story goes. Oh, make it, like, interactive in a way, like kind of do a Black Mirror kind of style?
Yeah, and Netflix is interested in investing in more stuff like that, and I saw Pan's tweet about that, and I thought, that could happen. I don't think they're going to. I think if they're going to do that, they would have announced that right out the gate. But that's a good idea that Pan had.
Yeah, that could, and it would stay true to like the game itself. Like that could definitely be an idea.
Or they could. Here's an idea. I just came up with this. Just make the old game and update it for the Netflix interface, and you can play the old game with your remote control, which you could probably do. It didn't have a lot of controls, and you can do it through Netflix. That would be cool.
Yeah, that could be an idea. And I mean, Dragon's Lair has been adapted onto like several platforms, so I can imagine they could probably do the same thing with Netflix. I mean, it can easily be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. I'm kind of interested in that Dragon's Lair movie. It might be a choose-your-own-adventure feature like how Netflix did their movies and TV shows on the feature. Well, we just talked about that. Yep. Let's see. Okay, well, if we can't get a 2D animated movie, at least we still got to see Don Bluth's game be adapted into live action on Netflix. At least the dragon is going to be animated. I know it's CGI, but at least it's still animated. Not the best thing to happen with Don Bluth, but better than Troll and Rockadoodle, hopefully. No, they're gonna bring in a real dragon. Or it would actually be pretty badass if they can actually get the Jim Henson Company to go and create a dragon for that film. Like, that would be awesome if they go practical on it.
I would love that. I hope that now I want them to. Sounds amazing.
Yeah, actually, you know what? The less CGI, the less computer animation on this, the better. Why not?
I mean, the more it feels like an 80s. I think actually, wouldn't it be cool if it was an 80s fantasy movie version of Dragon's Lair? Like kind of the Dragon's Lair of its own period. That would be really cool.
Yeah, that is true. Like the 80s style filmmaking. I can definitely see that.
Oh, now I do want this. I want this more than we talk about it, the more I'm in Dragon's Lair. This sounds cool.
Absolutely. Let's see. I really wish the best of luck for the crew who are working on this movie. For working on this movie the best it could be. Plus, I wonder if Ryan Reynolds' character is going to break the fourth wall like Deadpool at one point of the film. Maybe not necessarily, but I can imagine he's going to put in his signature charm onto Dirk the Daring, like make witty remarks about what's going on. I don't know if necessarily he'll break the fourth wall, but probably like he'll go in and he'll still be his Ryan Reynolds self, just as Dirk the Daring.
Well, does he have, other than the cartoon show, which I don't think we'd probably consider canon, we don't know much about his character. He doesn't I mean, is he that fleshed out of a character in the game that much, really, or no?
Not really, honestly. It's like it's as simple as it gets when it comes to the story. It's like it's the brave knight trying to save a princess from the big dragon. You know, it's just
Okay.
that. Honestly, if anything, like maybe they try to flesh him out afterwards, like for Dragon's Lair 2, like life with Daphne after saving her and stuff like that. But other than that, I wouldn't necessarily think so. Honestly, maybe that would have been the point. Like maybe that was the point of the Dragon's Lair movie, to show to show the origins of like Dirk and Daphne. And I do like, one thing I remember the most was actually seeing the origins of like how Dirk and Daphne first met, and that they didn't necessarily connect well at first, and Dirk the Daring was being a bit rude to Daphne, and in response, Daphne just punches Dirk in the face. Like, that's what I remember the most from the pitch reel.
Wow. Wait, this pitch reel, it never went live?
No,
Only
no,
for
no.
the people-
No, it never did. Like, Don Bluth and Gary Goldman did an amazing job to make sure that it would only be his supporters, like the people who pledged on Indiegogo, that they would be the only ones to see it, and that's it. That no one would go and put it up anywhere else, like on YouTube or anything like that. Like, they kept that security really airtight.
I mean, since you did see it, are you comfortable with telling us as much as you can say of it?
Yeah, I think I can. Well, there is, like, I already mentioned that one scene, and already mentioning like that did happen. And I do remember, like, they would have, like, the evil sorcerer come back, and he would have this little evil, like, Black Cauldron-esque minion coming in to help him out. And we do see some pretty nice animation of the origin of the dragon, where he came from as well, like, destroying the whole kingdom, which ended up separating Dirk and Daphne for many years. And other than that, my memory is kind of fuzzy, but that's the most that I do remember. It's just Daphne punching Dirk in the face, and the evil wizard conjuring a spell to summon the dragon from Dragon's Lair in order to destroy the castle, which kind of separated the two. Like, that's the most that I could recall.
Oh, okay. No, I just thought, I was like, oh, might as well ask since you've seen it, you know.
But keep in mind, it's been years since I saw it. I think it's been like, 4 or 5 years since I have seen, or since anyone has actually seen that pitch reel. Like, maybe sometime in the future, who knows, maybe Don Bluth will put it up live. Like, he will eventually show it to the public if nothing ever happens to it. But I guess we will see.
I mean, this whole story makes me think there should be a behind-the-scenes documentary of Don Bluth and how this project went down, and maybe Netflix bought the rights to Dragon's Lair, and legally they're allowed to do something like this. Like, you know,
that would actually make another really fascinating story. And I mean, I don't know if there actually is any footage showing Don Bluth and Gary Goldman trying to do it, but that would be a pretty solid idea. I would be interested to see a documentary about the making of the fabled Dragon's Lair movie.
Oh, I'm being told by Ryan Walchison that apparently Pan revealed stuff about the 2D thing that was canceled or something. I don't know. I'll have to watch that. I haven't watched that video.
Pan showed it in his new. Did Pan already make a new Dragon's Lair video? Like, did he already do it?
Pan worked very fast on this, because this came out at like 4 p.m. yesterday or something.
Yeah, really. Like, holy crap! I didn't expect Pan to really be on it like that quick.
Yeah, Pan's not really a news guy usually. Also, hi Ryan, how's it going?
Yeah, hey Ryan. Let's see. I'm surprised to hear this news. I didn't think they were going to make a live-action movie of Dragon's Lair, but this makes me curious in Netflix if they're going to make this, especially when they brought in Ryan Reynolds starring and producing the film. I'll have to wait and see and hope more news comes out soon. Hopefully it'll be the comeback that Don Bluth needed since Anastasia. Oh, I definitely agree with you on that. Like, Don Bluth definitely deserves a comeback.
It would be nice.
Yeah. But I think with that said, even though it had been a little bit of a bumpy road this episode, but I think this should conclude today's AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Jim, I'm sorry for what happened, but still, I had an amazing time with you here. It's definitely been a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for having me on. And everyone, check out my YouTube channel. I stream tonight at 10:30. And I also wanted to give a really big thank you to Ryan Walterson, who works on videos with me and a supporter of yours, and was very much was always like, when are you going to get on this podcast? And it was something I always wanted to do. So I want to thank him for constantly making sure this happens. So thank you very much, Ryan.
Yeah, and are there any other places? Oh, excuse me. Are there any other places on the internet that we can go and find you?
My main things are YouTube. On my YouTube channel, just my name, Jim Gisriel, and then I have a Twitter account as well. So either of those are great places to follow me.
All right, that's definitely great to hear. So with that said, I would like to say thank you all so much for watching, and thank you all so much for listening. And hopefully by next week, we will have less complications happening, and things will definitely go smoothly in terms of the technical side of things. But still, with that said, it's still been a lot of fun for this episode, so thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, see you later, dudes!
Bye.